Lalit Mundra, BE in Mechanical Engineering from MBA Engineering College, Jodhpur, and also Certified Financial Planner. He has 22 years of experience in all aspects of financial service industry. He is highly enterprising, prompt decision maker and with strong business acumen and entrepreneurship skills. He is rich in knowledge on capital market and handling high net worth investors, retail investors. He worked as operational head of Suresh Rathi and Company and currently working as director of Suresh Rathi Securities Private Limited. He established a network of retail outlets equipped with over 135 sub-brokers, 10 branches spread over to 25 cities, catering to over 40,000 investors, providing financial products and services. Elected as member of the Committee of BSE for Computer and Technology Development Committee and prestigious Market Operation Committee 2001-2 of the Bombay Stock Exchange. Elected as a Joint Secretary of the BSE Brokers Forum in 2008 till date. Elected as a Chairman of AMNI WIRC for the year 2010-11. Elected as a Directory AMNI Association of National Exchange Members of India for the year 2011 and 12. What according to you an investor should bear in his mind while investing in a stock market?
Investment, basically we observed that people at large actually come to stock markets with a wrong notion. They are given an understanding that this is a place where you can make a quick money, whereas the fact is quite opposite to this. So the word investment, actually this culture actually has to first come in. People actually think that the stock markets are a place to speculate, to gamble, and with this intention most of the people actually come and burn their fingers. They are not aware of the basic regulations also, the basic procedures related to the stock broking, and they just jump in. So we'll try to analyze a few issues actually before we go into operational details. For example, when a client comes and we ask him what is his investment objective, so most of the time we find that he's not clear about his objective. He just comes in and he says, yes, I have 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees to invest. But what is his objective? At what level he would book a profit? He's not aware. So that is the first problem, that anyone coming to stock market, he is not clear what is his objective. So my message would be, before you come to the stock market, you define your objective, that this is your goal, whether it is a long-term goal or a short-term goal, or at what rate of appreciation would you like to exit the market, or would you like to book a profit. Otherwise it is not doable. So the message therefore is that one should become an investor instead of becoming a speculator. And if one is a beginner in the market and is not able to directly analyze the stocks, he may as well choose a SIP route. The mutual fund SIP route is one of the better option as compared to the direct investing into the stocks. And we have observed that if there is a systematic investment and as the time horizon increases, actually there is a probability that investor actually gets a higher return, or let's say stable return over the longer period of times. We have there are studies conducted which actually demonstrate that if there is a time horizon of let's say 10 years, the investor is easily able to fetch an annualized return of 15%. So that is a basic thing. And thereafter, even if suppose the investor is not comfortable with the mutual fund, because there is a perception that owning the stocks actually that gives the investors a higher satisfaction that there are owners in the company. So they would like to actually invest, and they also see their peers. Here's Mr. X, Mr. Y, he has invested in stock and made good money. So they like to actually skip the route of MF SIP and they come to the market. For them, there are certain things which they should actually first act upon. For example, they should first look where, if they are investing, if they are dealing through any intermediary, whether the same is SEBI registered or not. That is the first step. After ensuring that, they should actually fill up the KYC form. They should read the risk disclosure document, understand it well. If there is any POA, they should go through it properly, thoroughly, and then only they should sign. In the retail segment, we observe that actually clients come and place the orders. They call up to the broker's office. They will say, I am Mr. XYZ speaking, but they are not aware of their client code. So the message here is they should actually, before calling up the broker's office, they should be very, very clear about what their specifications are, what is their client code, what is the script that they want to buy. If possible, they should also note down the exchange code, whether it is BSE or NSE, the exchange code. Every script is given a particular script code. So because there are similar names, so just to avoid confusion, they should be very, very clear about the script name. Whether they want to buy or sell, that should be clearly communicated to the dealer. Thereafter, the broker actually sends the contract note. Those are sent either through physical mode or through the electronic mode. Whichever mode you have chosen, you will receive the contract note, and the investor must actually examine whatever order placed by him are in accordance with the contract note or not. Sometimes if the investor has any doubt, he may go to the exchange websites directly and verify his trades based on the order number or the trade number given on the contract note. And these trades are available for a period of up to 7 days on the exchange websites. One more important thing in the stock market and the retail side is that people actually some people do not prefer giving checks. So it is very important to understand that the acceptance of cash or dealings in cash are prohibited, and investor should always give an account pay check in the name of his main broker only. The stockbrokers are supposed to send financial ledger to the investors on a monthly or quarterly basis, and the investors are supposed to check them on regular basis. If they are not checking, as per law, there is a deemed acceptance of whatever ledger they have received. There is a deemed acceptance. One more important thing is that people in general actually overtrade. Suppose they have a 1 lakh balance in the bank account, but they would buy shares of 2 lakhs or more. So this is a very dangerous situation. If you buy shares more than your bank balance, then you will be forced to square off whenever the broker actually tells you to do so, and it will result in a loss to you. So let's avoid that over trading. Sometimes we find that investors actually tend to buy stocks which are suddenly dropped in prices, or stocks which are available at cheap prices, let's say 1 rupee or 2 rupees. Those in the stockbroking this parlance are called penny stocks. So my advice would be to avoid such stocks or avoid such investments because the company price has suddenly fallen. That has nothing to do with the fundamentals of the company. And we also find that there are so many advertisements in the newspapers, or you get through SMS or emails which promise you to give higher returns in a shorter time. We as a prudent investor should avoid all such schemes. Sonam, this question is equally relevant because when an investor actually comes to the stock market, there is a need to open a trading account as well as a demat account. In fact, the demat account is a prerequisite for coming to the stock market. And largely people do not actually give the due attention while opening a demat account. We have noticed that about 50% of the clients actually dealing in the market are doing the trade to the power of attorney, and hardly any of them actually go through the contents and understand the implications of the POA, and they just sign it. So the strong message over here is, before you sign any POA, be it related to a demat account, be it related to your trading account, please go through it thoroughly and understand the implications. Thereafter only sign it. And while opening the demat account, there is a facility of nomination provided, and also there is an option whether if you don't want to give a nomination, there is an option, but my advice would be that every investor should definitely and certainly opt for this nomination facility.
Sir, as you know, a lot of people have demat accounts, but what are the measures one should take for safeguarding these demat accounts?
DIS book, as we all know, is just like a checkbook, and we are supposed to keep it in a safe custody. But we observe that clients actually give their DIS signed book to the sub-broker or the authorized person or the staff of the broker, which could be very, very risky. And for those people who actually have not given the power of attorney, they are supposed to fill up the DIS whenever they sell the shares. While filling the DIS, one should be very, very careful in filling up the ISIN number, the name of the security, the quantity, etc., and the settlement number. If there is any doubt, they must contact their DP or the broker. And unlike in checkbook where only either or signatory is possible, in this case the DIS instruction slip has to be signed by all the joint signatories, and if it is not signed by all joint signatories, the instruction would fail actually. So we should ensure that all the signs are there, and wherever there is an extra space for multiple instructions, they should be actually striked off so that one may not misuse the shares lying in your account. The transaction statement are actually sent by the depository participant on a quarterly basis to all the BO, and there is an option also to receive it in monthly or at a lesser frequency. So the BO is supposed to check the transaction statement whether all the debits and credits are in order or not. Besides that, there is a SMS alert facility available in depository. The client should register for that, so that any shares coming in or going out of the demat account are actually alerted by way of an SMS. And for those people who are actually not frequent trader or they hardly trade, they can also offer a freezing facility which is available with the DP. So in that case, you can just mark a freeze on your account, and whenever you wish to make it unfreeze, you can do it. So this will help you in case you are going abroad for a few weeks or so. In continuation with this, actually, whenever there is change in the address or telephone number or any contact details, we must inform the depository participant by way of a prescribed form and take proper acknowledgement of the same. One more thing, actually, we find that people actually do not pay the DP charges regularly to the broker or the DP. That could be difficult. That could create some difficulty sometimes. So my suggestion would be that the client should pay the DP charges regularly and avail the uninterrupted services. Those people who are actually internet savvy, they can take advantage of the technology, and they can register with the depository, be it NSDL or CDSL, with their depository participant. They can register to the access of their account on the internet. In CDSL it is called EASY, which means electronic access to securities information, whereas in NSDL it is named as IDEAS, that is internet based demat account statement. In both the cases, the investor after registration has an access to the holdings of his demat account, and he can also have a valuation of that based on the previous day's closing price on BSE or NSE. There is also in the EASY of CDSL, there is a record of last 7 days. The investor can track the transactions of last 7 days. The investor can also include multiple demat accounts through one login ID only. Meaning thereby that if there are 4 accounts in one family, he can only access all the 4 accounts through one email ID. Some additional features available in the IDEAS are that the transactions of last 30 days are available, and also the investor has an option to download the monthly statement of up to last 12 months.
Last but not the least, what would you advise to a small investor?
Sure, Sonam. We as intermediaries are supposed to give the best of our services to all the investors across the country, but wherever the investors find that their grievances are not settled as per their satisfaction through the main broker or through the depository participant, we advise them to actually register their complaint to the respective stock exchange or the respective depositories, and if not satisfied through that also, they must register their complaint onto the SEBI. And to sum up whatever I said in my investment advice in the beginning, I would just like to re-emphasize and reiterate that a mindless investing could be hazardous to your financial health. निवेशकों को मैं बताना चाहूँगा कि जब भी वे किसी ब्रोकर या सब ब्रोकर के पास जाते हैं, तो वो बेसिकली हमें आके यही कहते हैं कि आप ये कहाँ साइन करने हैं फॉर्म, आप बता दीजिए। वो पढ़ने की कुछ चेष्टा नहीं करते। वो ये या तो कह देते हैं कि या तो ये अंग्रेजी में हमें समझ में नहीं आता, या वो कहते हैं इतना सब हमारे पास टाइम नहीं है, या वो पहले से ही दुखी होते हैं कि एक क्लाइंट अकाउंट खोलने के लिए हमें 25 जगह सिग्नेचर करने हैं। तो वो बेसिकली एक कॉमन टेंडेंसी बन गई है कि हम इन्वेस्टर जाते हैं ब्रोकर के ऑफिस में और वो कहाँ साइन करने हैं, आँख मीच के वो साइन कर देते हैं। ये एक बहुत जोखिम भरा काम है। ऐसा करना उनके लिए नुकसानदायक हो सकता है अगर उनका ब्रोकर या सब ब्रोकर एक अच्छा व्यक्ति नहीं है, तो उसका मिसयूज़ वो कर सकता है। फॉर एग्जांपल, वो आपसे एक पावर ऑफ अटॉर्नी साइन कर लेगा जिसमें लिखा होगा कि उसके बेसिस पे उसने अथॉरिटी दे दी है कि आपके अकाउंट में आप ट्रेड कर सकते हैं इन्वेस्टर के ब्याह पे। तो ये कॉमन एक प्रॉब्लम आजकल नजर आती है कि ब्रोकर या सब ब्रोकर या उसका ऑथोराइज पर्सन इन्वेस्टर का इस तरह का पीओए ले लेता है और उसके बाद में वो उसके अकाउंट में ट्रेड उसके बिना मर्जी के भी कर देता है। हालांकि ये चीज़ें पिछले कुछ सालों से सेबी ने इन पे लगाम लगाने की कोशिश की है। उस क्रम में उन्होंने एक चीज़ इंट्रोड्यूस की है, वो है SMS अलर्ट्स एक्चुअली। तो अगर इन्वेस्टर ने अपना मोबाइल नंबर रजिस्टर किया है स्टॉक एक्सचेंजेस के यहाँ और फिर स्टॉक एक्सचेंज उनको हर शाम को उनकी जो ट्रेड समरी है उसकी मैसेज SMS के द्वारा भेजते हैं। तो ये करना एक्चुअली बहुत ज़रूरी है आज की तारीख में, बिकॉज अगर ये कर लिया तो आपको हर शाम को एक SMS आ जाएगा कि आज आपने इतना वॉल्यूम इस एक्सचेंज में इस ब्रोकर के साथ ट्रेड किया है। तो आप उसको क्रॉस चेक कर सकते हैं कि आपने वो बिजनेस किया है कि नहीं किया है। अगर नहीं किया है तो आपको तुरंत अपने ब्रोकर या सब ब्रोकर से संपर्क करना है और उस चीज़ को वहीं रोकना है। यहाँ अगर हम शुरुआती दौर पे इसको रोक देंगे तो आगे चल के हमें किसी तरह की दिक्कत का सामना नहीं करना पड़ेगा। तो मोबाइल नंबर को आप अवश्य रजिस्टर करा लें। अगर आपके फैमिली में आपने अलग अलग अकाउंट खोले हैं तो सबका अलग अलग मोबाइल नंबर रजिस्टर कर सकते हैं। इसके कोई चार्जेस नहीं है। ये सर्विस एडिशनल सर्विस फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट सारे निवेशकों को एक्सचेंजेस द्वारा दी गई है। इसके अलावा कुछ ब्रोकर्स भी हैं जो ये इसकी सर्विस एडिशनली अपनी तरफ से देते हैं। वो रियल टाइम ट्रेड कंफर्मेशन भी भेजा करते हैं। तो ये एक और एड ऑन सर्विस है, अगर आपका ब्रोकर वो देता है तो उसको भी आप जरूर से अवेल कीजिए। फिर हम देखते हैं कि इन्वेस्टर एक्चुअली स्टॉक मार्केट में आते हैं और वो हर चीज़ की तुलना करते हैं। कैसे कि जैसे अगर उसने मंडे को हमारे यहाँ शेयर खरीदा तो वो निवेशक बोलेगा कि जब मैं आपके यहाँ मंडे को शेयर खरीदता हूँ तो आपको मैं मंडे को चेक देता हूँ, और जब मैं आपके यहाँ मंडे को शेयर बेचता हूँ तो आप मुझे गुरुवार को चेक देते हैं। ऐसा क्यों होता है, मैं थोड़ा इस पर खुलासा करना चाहूँगा। स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में जो सिस्टम होता है पे इन पे आउट का, वो T+2 के ऊपर बेसिस है। T+2 का मतलब बहुत सिंपल है, मतलब ये कि अगर आप सोमवार को एक शेयर खरीदते हैं तो उसका स्टॉक एक्सचेंज ब्रोकर के अकाउंट से पेमेंट वेडनेसडे को यानी कि बुधवार को एक्सचेंज में से उसके बैंक अकाउंट में से ले लेता है, और क्लाइंट जो चेक हमें सोमवार को खरीद करने के बाद में मंगलवार को या बुधवार को चेक देता है वो एक्चुअल में ऑनर भी नहीं होता है। तो हमेशा ब्रोकर का फर्स्ट स्टेप पे जब भी क्लाइंट बाय करता है तो पैसा इन्वॉल्व हो जाता है, और क्लाइंट अगर ये कहता है कि मैं टाइम पे पेमेंट नहीं दे पाया, लेट दूंगा, तो इसमें क्लाइंट का नुकसान भी है, ब्रोकर का नुकसान भी है। कारण कि अगर आप डेबिट रखेंगे तो ब्रोकर आपको इंटरेस्ट चार्ज करेगा। इंटरेस्ट चार्ज करने के अलावा अगर वो चाहे तो आपकी पोजीशन भी लिक्विडेट कर सकता है। तो अगर आपने आपकी कैपेसिटी से ज़्यादा डिलीवरी बेस्ड बाइंग की है तो आपको वो पोजीशन लिक्विडेट करने के लिए बाध्य कर सकता है, और फिर हो सकता है कि आपका पोजीशन लॉस में लिक्विडेट हो जाए। तो आपसे निवेदन है इन्वेस्टर लोगों से कि अपनी जितनी कैपेसिटी है बाइंग की उतनी बाइंग उसमें करें, उसकी ज़्यादा न करें। तीसरा हमने देखा है कि स्टॉक एक्सचेंज की ब्रोकरेज सेव करने के लिए, ब्रोकर की ब्रोकरेज मार्जिन वगैरह सेव करने के लिए आजकल कुछ लोग डब्बा ट्रेडिंग में रुझान रखते हैं। तो मेरी सबसे निवेदन और गुजारिश है कि डब्बा ट्रेडिंग की तरफ बिल्कुल हमें ये नहीं करना चाहिए, उसकी तरफ अट्रैक्ट नहीं होना चाहिए। हमें शॉर्ट टर्म में जरूर लगता है कि यहाँ हमें ब्रोकरेज बच रही है, हमारे ट्रांजेक्शन चार्ज बच रहे हैं, इसमें हमें KYC नहीं करना पड़ रहा है, हमें पैन नंबर नहीं देना पड़ रहा है, ये सब चीज़ें हमें सुविधाजनक जरूर लगती है। लेकिन डब्बा ट्रेडर एक्चुअली उसका कोई अस्तित्व नहीं है। वो जब तक आप उसके फेवर में सिचुएशन चल रही है तब तक वो शायद आपके पैसे चुका सकता है, लेकिन जब आप सभी इन्वेस्टर का एक साथ कभी प्रॉफिट आया तो वह डब्बा ट्रेडिंग वाला आपको मिलेगा भी नहीं, और उसके अगेंस्ट में आप शिकायत करने के लिए कोई रिकोर्स भी अवेलेबल आपके पास नहीं होगा। तो डब्बा ट्रेडिंग से हम सबको बचना बहुत जरूरी है।